Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Charlene and this is my little YouTube channel where I talk mainly about books but also with a little bit of travel and lifestyle in there as well. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and you've had a good week. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about Survive the Night by Riley Sager, but before I get into the book and the plot and what I thought about it and everything, I'm just going to give you a quick couple of details about it. So firstly, this is a thriller book, which if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know thrillers are right up my street. Second of all, the average rating for Survive the Night on Goodreads is 3.52, and I'm just going to read you the blurb very quickly. Charlie Jordan is being driven across the country by a serial killer, maybe. Behind the wheel is Josh Baxter, a stranger Charlie met via the university rideshare scheme. On the road they share their stories, carefully avoiding the subject dominating the news, the campus killer. Responsible for 3 student murders, he has just struck again. The miles tick by and Charlie begins to notice discrepancies in Josh's story and why won't he let her see inside the trunk. As she begins to plan her escape from the man she is becoming certain is the killer, she starts to suspect that he knows exactly what she's thinking, meaning that she could very well end up as his next victim. A game of cat and mouse is about to play out. In order to win, Charlie must do only one thing: survive the night. So I just really hope that you can see me okay, because it's another really hot day in the UK, which is great. We finally got a bit of sun and a bit of warmth and it's not grey and drizzly and miserable, but the background is so bright. I'm doing everything I can with lighting to like balance it out and like close the curtains a little bit and everything, but it still looks like I'm in heaven. So I hope it's not too bad. I've done the best I can, but I really hope that that's not too distracting. So Survive the Night by Riley Sager is actually my second Riley Sager book that I've ever read. The first one I read was The Only One Left, and that was like a few months ago that I read that. And that was a really fun, fast-paced thriller, really epic, really dramatic, and I scored that a 4 out of 5. So I thought I'd probably end up liking this because I liked Riley Sager's writing, and also I absolutely love thrillers. Also, when I don't know, like if this might sound a bit weird, but when I read the blurb, like I really enjoy true crime and watching like true crime documentaries and like listening to the podcasts and stuff like that. I'm one of them. But when I read the blurb, I thought it actually the story reminded me a lot of the story of Ted Bundy, which I find really interesting. Obviously it's horrendous, but I find it interesting. And so that was another thing that I thought, okay, I'll probably enjoy reading this. We bought it, but before I got to it, my mother-in-law read it and then my husband read it and they both loved it. They both said it was really fun to read, really dramatic. They were like, it was one of those books that they both felt that they couldn't put down. So I was really excited to read it. And I have literally just finished it last night. So I'm going to talk to you about the plot and the characters and everything so that you can decide whether you want to read the book. But I'm going to try and do it in a spoiler-free way if I can, because yeah, I don't want to give anything away because there's so many twists and turns in this book. So I've told you a little bit about the plot already from the blurb, and I'm going to try and expand on that in a way that's spoiler free, just to give you a little bit more information so that you can see whether you'd like to read this book. But I feel like this is going to be a really quick video because there's not actually too much I can say on top of the blurb without giving it away. And also sorry if I sound a bit like snotty or like congested or anything. Hay fever's starting to kick in, and hay fever absolutely kicks my butt. Like, it's no joke. I take all the things I'm supposed to do and it doesn't do anything. Like, hay fever hates me. So sorry if I sound weird. So let me just start by saying, so the main character is a girl called Charlie, and she is at a university. I think it's called Oliphant, and I'm probably saying that completely wrong. But anyway, she's at this university in America, and she has recently lost her best friend, Maddie, because she was killed by somebody called, or who they're calling, the press and the media and the police are calling, the campus killer. So there's some kind of serial killer on the loose, and he's killed, so far as much as they know, 3 people, the most recent being a girl called Maddie, who, like I said, is Charlie, the main character's best friend. So that is where we start. We start with Charlie at her university. This has just happened fairly recently, within the last few months, and Charlie obviously absolutely cannot come to terms with it, and also she feels like she can't stay there because there's just first of all, there's a serial killer on the loose, but second of all, there's too many memories and she feels guilty that Maddie was killed and not her, all of this. So she feels like she has to go. So she has a boyfriend called Robbie, and Robbie said, I will give you a lift. By the way, her home where she lives with her grandma is like 6 hours away from the university. So it's not just a case of like quickly hopping on a bus or a train or something. Like, she needs to get home ASAP, but she needs to get home like in a way that's as quick as possible. So she's trying to find a lift, and Robbie says, I can give you a lift home, but I won't be able to do it for a couple of weeks because I've got all these things to do at the university. But she is done. She just wants to get home ASAP. So, like the blurb said, she goes to the university's rideshare board, and that's where she meets somebody called Josh. Josh is somebody, like, Charlie has just pinned up her little notice on the rideshare board with her little things that you rip up of her phone number so that she can try and find out who else is going that way so she can get a lift home. Just as she's doing that, Josh appears wearing a university sweatshirt, and she's like, never seen you before, but obviously you go here. And they get to talking, and Josh is also going pretty much the same way. So they agree on Charlie sharing a lift with Josh. However, Josh can't leave for some reason until the middle of the night. And so Charlie's like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll pack up. I need to just get home ASAP. So she packs up all of her things. Robbie sent her on her way, and off she goes with Josh into a car where she's traveling through the middle of the night, 6+ hours of a journey, and she doesn't even know who this person is that she's sharing a car with. The cool thing about this story is that it all takes place over the course of one night, which is called Survive the Night. And I really like things that do that. I really like it when books give you that kind of impression that you're seeing everything through with the characters, because it all develops over one night. Everything is time stamped. And I just really like that. I think it's a really, it keeps me interested and it keeps it fast paced. But yeah, I just think it's a really interesting thing to do. So over the course of the night, Charlie and Josh are off in the car, and they're trying to get from the university to Charlie's grandma's house, which is, like I said, like 6+ hours away. And throughout this time, she's obviously feeling like really anxious and a little bit on edge of like who this guy is. Like, as soon as she gets in the car, she's kind of like, why have I done that? I know that's the wrong thing to do, to share a lift in the middle of the night with a stranger who I literally met like a few hours ago. So she starts to kind of question Josh, and Josh kind of has an idea of what she's trying to get to. Like, basically she's trying to find out, are you the campus killer? And also, like, throughout their conversation, it starts to come to light that a few of the things Josh is saying are actually lies, because he'll say one thing in the first conversation and say something completely different further, a couple of hours down the line. So she's starting to piece a few things together and get worried that, like, you're telling a lot of discrepancies in your story and about who you are, and I'm starting to pick up on all of your lies, and why are you lying to me? You have no reason to lie to me. I'm a complete perfect stranger. So Charlie is a very damaged person, and she's trying to get through this road trip. She's got the one side of her brain that's like desperate to get home, and the other side of her brain that's like, who the hell are you? And I don't feel safe, and why have I done this? Another thing we learn about Charlie, which is really, really interesting, is that she has some past trauma, which I won't go into because that will give too much away about her character. But she has some past trauma that means that she has like very, very vivid hallucinations in her mind. They're what she calls movies. And these hallucinations, since Maddie died, are starting to become more frequent. So a lot of the time she can't tell what's real and what's not. So that's really not helpful in this scenario where she's in the car with a potential serial killer. So that's happening at the same time. So you learn a lot about Charlie and her story and her backstory and why she's dealing with these kind of things. You learn a lot about Josh. You learn a lot about the lies that he's telling, and you just follow their journey over the course of the night, trying to get from A to B. But of course, it's never going to be as straightforward about that as that, because it's a Riley Sager book and it's a thriller. Apart from that, I don't think I can really tell too much more about the plot without giving it away. It is just like a really, really interesting story. I think it's set in like the 70s or 80s or something like that, because mobile phones aren't a thing. So that's another thing. She's in this car with a potential serial killer who's telling her lies. She's having hallucinations and she's got no phone to get in contact with anybody. So it's basically the story of her and Josh trying to survive the night, finding out who they are as people, the lies they're telling each other, and what is happening, like what is happening at the bottom of this, and also who is the campus killer. I would say, other than that, there's not too much more I can say, but the story is so interesting. Like, I really enjoy Riley Sager's writing because it's so dramatic and it's so like full of twists and turns. It's fast paced, and what I really love is it's easy to read as well. And all of the chapters, some are small, some are longer, but they're all like not time-stamped isn't the right, yeah, there are timestamps through it, but they also tell you where this part of the story is taking place, which I think is really, really cool. So you feel like you're along for the ride with them. So yeah, that's really as much as I can say about the story without giving too much away. But now I'll get into talking about the characters. So now I'll start talking about the characters, and actually there aren't that many characters to talk about within the book, which is another thing I really enjoyed, because when the story is compressed down to one evening and one core set of main characters, I just feel like I'm in it so much more. Like, I can really know who everyone is, I really know what's happening at what time, and I just feel like I'm involved in the story much more. It felt like a pressure cooker, and that is really great that Riley Sager was able to make that kind of be the feeling of the book, because you feel intense and you feel like you're anxious and you feel like you're there, and it all just feels very dramatic and fast paced and like you're in Charlie's situation. So the characters, obviously Charlie is the main character, and I'd say we experience about 90% of the story through her eyes. Another main character is Josh, who is the driver of the car that she's met at the rideshare board, person who she's not sure is the campus killer. Another main character is Robbie, who is Charlie's boyfriend. Another main character is Marge, who is a lady who Charlie meets along the journey. And I guess you could say another main character is Maddie. We talk a lot about Maddie, and we learn a lot about Maddie throughout the story. Maddie was Charlie's best friend that recently got murdered by the campus killer. Other than that, there aren't really that many characters in the story. There's like people mentioned here and there and friends and things like that, but those are the core group of main characters, which, like I said, I really like, because when there's loads and loads of characters, I feel like I can't really remember who everyone is, what everyone's relationships to each other are, who they are as people. But when it's just a small group of characters, I felt like I got to know them much, much better. One thing I will say about Riley Sager's writing is that he allows an epic ending. When I read The Only One Left, the ending was just a complete blaze of glory. Like, it was absolutely insane, and it was really, really dramatic and really, really epic. And that was exactly the same with this book. It was packed full of twists and turns. So many times throughout the book, I thought to myself, I know exactly what's happening here. I've got it figured out. I'm so smart. And every time I was wrong. There was like, my opinion on who the campus killer is kept changing throughout the book constantly. And also my opinion on the situation that Charlie's in kept changing constantly. Like, one minute I was completely sure that this was going to happen, and the other minute I was completely sure that the campus killer was this person. But pretty much every time I was wrong. And then in the end, the story unfolds, and the way that the characters are all, the relationship that they have together was super, super interesting. If you like a book that is absolutely full of twists and turns, then you'll love this. It's like a true crime kind of murder mystery like feeling to it, and I really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, I also find Riley Sager's writing to be very easy to read. So as a slow reader, that's very, very helpful for me, that I don't have to keep going over the writing over and over again. It was fast paced, it was intense, it was a little bit like anxiety making, and also it was like, at points it drove me absolutely mad, and it made me feel so frustrated, because there are so many times when something could have had the opportunity to happen and then didn't. I can't say what that thing is, obviously, but I was like, what are you doing? It's like, you know, when you're watching a scary film and they go into their basement or something like that, and you're like, just run out the door, what are you doing? It felt like that. But it was really, really fun read. And I think that this book is a really good one to pick up in between heavier reads. So if you've just read a book that's like a really heavy read, or it's really long or really intense, and you want something fun, quick, fast paced to read, then this is one to reach for. I've just realised I didn't even tell you the number of pages, and it's 322 pages in this book. So that's not too much at all. I think it took me reading just before bed a little bit each night, like a week to get through. But if I was to read this and sit down on a weekend day and dedicate some time to it, I'm sure you could get through it fairly quickly, because it is a real page turner, which I absolutely loved. So after saying all that and giving you that information about the book, I think I will end up scoring this book the same that I scored The Only One Left, and that is a 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoy Riley Sager's writing. I love a thriller. I love a book that's got like a creepy edge to it, or something that's like crime related. Absolutely love it. So this was going to be right up my street, and like I said, it did remind me of a few of those true crime things that I've like, the documentaries I've watched, like about Ted Bundy and things like that. So that part of it I found super interesting. But yeah, 4 out of 5 in the end for this book, and I really did enjoy it, and I really would recommend that you read it if you like thrillers and you want something fast paced and easy and fun to read. If you have read Survive the Night, let me know, spoiler free of course, what you thought in the comments. I would be really interested to know. Also, if you have read this, or you know the kind of books I like from what I've just said, please feel free to recommend me anything to read, because I absolutely love books like this, and I absolutely love thrillers. So if there's any that you've read that you're like, oh my god, that was such a banger, then put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching this video and for being there. Thank you also to everybody that's subscribed. I've had a few new subscribers recently, so thank you so very much. I'm like 50 off 1,000 at this point, so that's really exciting to watch it grow and just be in a position where I never ever imagined it would be. I'm just here to chat about books that I like, but I really love making this little community, and I really love chatting with you guys, and I just really appreciate every single one of you. So thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do, and I will love you forever and ever if you would subscribe to my little channel, and also like this video, because it helps me out, and I'm just a teeny tiny little channel on YouTube in amongst all these giants, and I'm just trying to make my way. So any little help, so I'd absolutely love you forever if you did any of those things. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you next week in my next video, and I hope you're well, have a good week, and I'll see you later. Bye!